women voters, and she has come down ill, so we are going to bypass that, and we're going to go to Miss Laura. I said that I would put her last, but I'm going to go ahead and let her go first so she can get out of here. So come on down, Laura.
Thanks.
With Region 9.
I appreciate your time. I have my computer so I can refer to these as well. So.
Okay.
So, good to see all of you.
Good to see you.
I wanted to give you a little update on the transition of council governments going under Region 9. And we did have a board meeting in July that we discussed membership dues going forward, and that's what I wanted to bring to you guys just for questions. You can beat me up. You know boards. But I'm happy to kind of let you know what we're looking at and where we're at. So in January, the COG Board of Directors, the COG started in 2010, lost Miriam and decided enough was enough when they wanted to go to one regional organization rather than two, which is what all of the...
Can you turn the mic on real fast?
I apologize.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So there's 14 regions in Colorado, and our region was the only one that had 2 regional organizations. And so that was politics at the time, and it was decided by the COG board, which is the same member governments, not all of them, but the same region, the same 5-county region, and they wanted to dissolve and go under Region 9. So we have been working on that since that time. We've transitioned all staff to Region 9. We have been cutting expenses from the COG. We're ending their rent, their COG office, changed the mailing address, one set of insurance, all of those details. We're hoping to get to the same fiscal year and one audit. And in doing that and bringing all of the programs under Region 9, the COG as a name and as an entity is going to go away. And so in that transition, we discussed Region 9 and what we would need in that transition. Region 9 dues has been really low because we have been able to sustain our organization. The dues for Montezuma County has been $6,000. I wrote it down. About $6,000.
It was like 6,600, wasn't it?
Thank
Or
you.
roughly,
And
if I remember right.
the COG dues for when the COG disbanded, there were only 9 members left out of the 15 governments. They did not include the tribes from day one. And so they were charging $160,000 for divided by the governments, and they were down to 9. So it was a significant amount of money for those 9 governments. We want to create economies of scale. My first, I guess, of top importance is I want to maintain the 2 staff that have been traditionally working on COG programs that are now no longer COG programs. One is Shaq, obviously, who started working with us, and he'll be working with broadband, housing, and transportation. And we're hoping we'll provide better value. And then we have a second staff person who actually just put in her notice. She'll be going to work for Miriam in the private sector, and we will be hiring a replacement for that, but she provided meeting support for a lot of different programs, some of the shared services like getting the cheaper Zoom subscriptions from the Regional Housing Alliance, which is in La Plata, to San Juan RC&D, which is a nonprofit pass-through, to TPR, transit, things like that. So a lot of changes. The Region 9 dues have not increased since 2018. It's going to impact this increase Montezuma County the most because they were not a participant with the COG. For the 9 member governments that participate in the COG, it's actually going down significantly. So there's basically in the dues proposal, which you have on the screen, we used Region 9's method, which is based on population. We pull out the tribal population, we pull out the municipality population for Montezuma, and then we calculate it based on the total. and then all pay a base rate of $400, and that's for the Silvertons of the world because their populations are so small. So it's going to be about $16,000 more than what you were paying last year. So I'm just putting that out there. Obviously, we would continue to provide services regardless of whether you pay dues or pay a full amount with what we're requesting. You know, that just is what it is. And so, you know, we're requesting that you put this amount in the budget. If you do not, just let me know. And I'm happy to answer questions on the process, the programs, anything that I can do to help with this.
So I'll speak first because last month in July, obviously, we were at NACO, so we were unable to attend the meeting where they approved the fee schedule.
And it wasn't a setup, I promise. It was on the
And
agenda.
However, prior to that, the meeting before that, along with La Plata County Commissioner, because we were looking at the fee schedule at that point in time, it was a choice whether we were part of the SWCOG or not. It's now no longer a choice, and I expressed my concern at that point in time. I'm like, wait a minute, you know, these are going to be significant to us because we didn't feel that there was a there wasn't enough to pay the dues for what we were getting. That was our feeling. And I expressed that just so that you guys know that
Right.
from Montezuma County. However, it's not now giving you a chance as Region 9 to show what you may or may not be able to do with new leadership, actually, and new personnel. So just to put that out there, just so that you guys know that, I have expressed our concerns. It's always good to have music.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think we can leave the discussion for that. But I think it was like 6,600 if I remember right, Laura,
Yes.
and it compared to the 23,241 now.
Yes, and we left TPR separate, but it's included in the total. I've talked to several governments about just rolling the TPR in. That doesn't reduce it more than $800, you know, but just to do that because we really looked at whether we wanted to do a menu of items, you know, based on what program and what folks wanted or didn't want, and that honestly felt too hard to implement. We just wanted to provide all our programs equally across the region, you know, whatever they are. Region 9 is expanding services regardless of what we're taking on, obviously the opioid settlement money and managing that regional entity. We also will be taking on, for Montezuma in particular, the implementation of the rural roadmap recommendations, which we're hoping will save you some staffing. And then obviously we work closely with your grant writer and Jessica because there's more than enough work in all of those programs, but you have also expanded your staff to do more around economic development, and we recognize that as well. I believe broadband, that is definitely taking off. As you know, we are updating the regional broadband plan, and we need to just connect this region, and that's what we're going to be working on with Middle Mile. That's really where SHAC's area of focus has been. Housing, I don't think that the COG did anything with housing, and that's something that we're trying to build off of. And then the transportation, I know Jim is on the TPR. That's something that we will continue to work on, along with just the programs that we're already doing, you know, under Region 9. My goal, honestly, is these dues are not going to go up. You can put me on record for that. After this, I think we can actually ratchet them down. It's just in trying to get a good number with several unknowns. This is just securing that I'm paying for staff if the bottom falls out, you know, and benefits, and being able to do that with travel. We also have, I guess as a bonus, a full-time office now in Cortez that's staffed. That is something we have been able to do with SHAC, and I do know he has that you will be getting a lot of his attention. So I hope that that helps as well. But I'll just open it up for questions.
So one other thing that I think you might mention, and I think you did touch on it just a little bit briefly, but at the end of this year, the COG name is actually going away. It's just all under Region 9, correct?
Correct.
So it's just being implemented this year because they did have their own budget.
Their own budget. They also have some grants that are running through that we have to manage until they close out. Actually, the tax ID will stay active, but we'll be able to keep the government entity piece so that we can apply for DOLA funds for the region. That's the only thing it'll be used for, and we're going to change the name. So there is
Right.
no COG name.
So there will be no Southwest COG. It'll all be under Region 9 starting the new year,
Correct.
23rd.
Much like Region 10,
Mhm.
you know, is, so.
So that's really kind of all I have to add for you guys. It's just,
In our meeting in July, we did bring dues from 2 other regions for comparison, and I didn't bring that today. I didn't know how much minutia you wanted. But actually, the Region 10 charges $162,000 a year, but they have a few more governments. They're up to, sorry, I had that. No, they have 16 governments. They don't have the tribes. And then Region 8, they charge a different amount. They actually have 2 sets of dues, which we do not want. Northwest COG has 30 different entities, and they charge $181. So we feel like that was in the ballpark. We looked at that as well. But again, we want to justify those services to you, and we took out Region 9's dues on top of that, you know, to create more economies of scale. And we did not do anything with TPR, but I will be rolling those into the amount, so that will go down. And again, you have the authority to pay less.
questions?
Not right now. I mean, just economy of scale, when you're dealing with decreased revenues, you know, and you're taking a $15,000 jump, it's awful tough to look at, but we can.
Yes, sir. If at that point you had joined the COG, this is still less than what it would have been for you to actually join the COG as a member. Not that that makes it any
Right.
better.
Correct. And again, I want to give you the opportunity to be successful. However, our opinion with dealing with the COG, we couldn't get anything done.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that. You know exactly what I'm trying to say, and we just didn't feel that the fees were worth it at that time. So
Yeah.
it's a discussion that we'll have to have, you know, like, you know, the $16,000 more, that's a pretty significant increase.
Yes. And I understand and know either way, whatever you choose to budget, we will be providing services.
Right.
So this is just what the board approved, and we have the agreement of all the government members on that board that were present at the meeting. I have to qualify that. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of it, because I know budget season is already starting.
Mhm. Anything else, gentlemen?
And I didn't bring backup. See,
Okay, I noticed that. You didn't bring backup today,
I
so we're
gotta,
gonna
you
be
know,
nice.
you gotta take it.
The backup's all on the road.
So, but I appreciate just the time, and please let me know if you have questions as you move through this, and, you know, we understand, and I still believe we can get lower. You know, I just wish I could say what that is right now in July, you know?
Right.
So,
We're too far away.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
thank you. See, that was quick and easy.
That was quick.
Now you can get to the Cortez office
Yeah.
while it's vacant.
Right, yeah, no kidding. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, we will now go to the discussion on the Fair Board oversight being returned to them, and we have Faedra and Ian to present to us on this one. So I think part of this discussion, I'll just kind of start it, and then you guys can kind of finish it up. When I first started in 2019, the Fair Board had all of their fiduciary responsibility taken away from them because of issues in the past. Some of the things that I had to deal with were phone calls of, can we get $100 here or $200 here, so on and so forth, because they didn't have even petty cash to get any of the things that they needed to do to be able to get the fair set up and to get going. I think that the board now has represented that they can take care of things on their own, and I think that it's probably the recommendation of Ian and our finance officer to go ahead and give them back their fund so that they can manage it, and we don't have to be dealing with these types of issues of, hey, we need X, Y, and Z just to make sure that this fair board functions. So I think that's kind of it in a nutshell, and then I'll turn it over to Ian and Faedra and kind of go from there.
That's pretty much it. We like the middleman between the extension office and the fair board. And I would say for the last 3 years, maybe the last 2, they've had a good treasurer that's gotten everything in order. And I know they've been frustrated at times. They've needed things that we can't get done for them. Maybe funding's an issue with them. Not sure.
So I think this fair board has showed that they are responsible, and I think it's fair to give them back their funds to take care of instead of having to go through us all the time. I know they had issues in the past, but you guys have both dealt with it.
Yeah, I'm not saying they won't have
Previously-
issues in the future, but it's time that they became responsible for their money.
Well, trusted with their money.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to go through us.
No,
I mean, they have
not by any means.
questions, Commissioner?
So how much money has the county been putting into the fair?
Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, go ahead. Or do you want me to?
Go ahead, you got, I'm just go off the top of my head, so.
Their budget has been 70,000 on average for the last 3 years. That was increased, I think, in 2019. I think it was half of that in 18. That's just for the fair, but also the CSU extension, their budget, for the fair, they get 2 full-time 4-H program employees at 94,000, 2 part-time during the fair at 4,500. We pay for the extension agent, in which it's an additional 14,700 this year, so that's up to 29,400. And they get operating expenses of 17,400. So the fair definitely is supported by county commissioners.
I don't think the discussion is, we're not taking away our funding, what we
No,
do
not
to
taking-
support the
Well,
fair.
but the budget,
It's just,
right, they would come just like any other
absolutely.
Right.
program
Right.
to the board and request what they think they need for that upcoming year to operate, or have additional monies to operate.
But it's just that they've been responsible enough to give it back to them so that they don't have to continually come to us to say, hey, we need X, Y, and Z to get this fair going. And it sounds like that's what it was when you gentlemen were in the past. That's the way it was. It wasn't taken away until like 2015, 16, something like that, because of some issues that were had at that point in time. But, you know, we think they've been responsible enough to go ahead and give that back to them. That way they don't have to run everything through us. Unless you want.
You know, I don't really have too much to add. I mean, I think from a legal perspective, it's not a problem to turn it over to them. So, you know, it's really up to you guys and to finance and whatever's gonna be the smoothest.
Has the fair board made any requests to do this? I mean, have they
Can you turn your mic on, Faedra, real quick? On.
they have
At their meeting tonight, Travis will, when he talks to
Right.
them at their Fair Board meeting
See
tonight,
if they're ready to do this.
we'll be able to discuss that with them.
Do you have any feeling of what the Fair Board's thoughts on this are?
I do not. I cannot say I do, no.
Okay.
I know they've shown frustration in the past that they don't have access. They have to go through us. They have a process, their board does, and eventually it goes to us, and we have to wait with our schedule to process anything. For everyone that comes through that has requests, we have a schedule, and sometimes our schedule doesn't meet their needs, so.
I think that was the biggest frustration that they were feeling, that was relayed to me when I first started, was like, can we get a couple $100? Because we need to do, I don't know, whatever they do, or they need to get trophies or so on and so forth.
Their
And
petty cash.
their petty cash
Their
and
cash prizes for their programs that they're running at the fair. Yeah, certain things like that.
so I think that's the bigger issue, and I think that they've shown the responsibility that they can manage it, so why not give it back to them and let them run their budget?
No. I don't have any problem doing it that way. I mean, that's the way it was always done before, so.
And I think the only reason it was taken away was because of issues that they had in the past, and
They were in a
then,
bind. I don't know if it was actually taken away. I just think that the county reached out and supported to help them.
okay. So Travis, that'll kind of be on your agenda tonight for the Fair Board?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we're gonna have
And
a,
then we can make that decision tomorrow under unfinished business in case something else arises tonight that we don't have. Obviously, none of them are in here. But they do have a meeting tonight. Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Thanks, Faedra.
Thanks, Faedra. Okay, next we're gonna discuss the contributions for the 2023 budget. Instead of looking at all of the line items or people that come in for a request, we talked about this a little bit, and we're like, why don't we just set a dollar amount that we are going to spend, whatever that dollar amount is, and then we can listen to all the requests as they come in, and then we just prioritize them, and then we'll have to obviously put a number to what we feel that we want to fund or that we don't want to fund. So what Travis has up here right now, I guess, Travis, if you want to explain it in the highlighted areas under the miscellaneous.
sure, so the miscellaneous, those are fees and dues, for instance, certain insurance, like our E&O insurance has to come out of that, and there's gonna be some others. And talking to Faedra, we'll probably have to increase that a little bit more this year to probably 40,000. So if you look down through there, starting with that specific line item down to community corrections, we're at setting about 60,204 as currently. With the increase from Region 9, that's going to go up to 78,000 approximately. Now, if we decide to move the fair into the miscellaneous, that will be something that you gentlemen will have to discuss and figure out what you're wanting to give to the fair and how that's going to work. So as we sit with the Region 9 increase, we're looking at 78,000 currently.
So you can see what we funded last year. Obviously, we funded the libraries, the firewise. We did not do anything for the Forest Service. We funded, I thought it was 6,600. It's 6,066 for Region 9. Housing Solutions, 1,350, not a lot. Access, 10,000, and Community Connections, 15,000. So what do you guys feel is an appropriate number to put in there?
And just so you gentlemen know, I was looking at the Access Detox facility and their acute treatment unit. I reached out to Access. There's an MOU through 2023, and I talked to the sheriff, and he gave me his opinions as it related to that. However, Access has indicated, and this is just verbally, that they may be able to cover those fees this year due to excess funding. However, you might still want to budget that money in there due to the MOU.
What'd you say it would bring it to if we added Region 9?
If we add Region 9's fees, it's going to bring us up currently, as we sit, from 60,204 to roughly 78,000.
Because that would be 16,000 more, 76,000, Travis?
Yeah, so initially they said it was going to be a 24,000 increase, and so that's how I figured it at 78, but today she said 22, so 76 to 78,000.
So the Region 9 fee that we have now is a 6,066. That would increase to the 23,241. So it's a matter of, do you want to fund all of the facilities that we did last year at that amount, or do we want to, other than access, because that $10,000 with that MOU was part of what gave us the seat at their board and their financials also. And I think, Ken, that was one of the very first things we dealt with when you and Joel came on.
Right.
So we don't have to necessarily, obviously, answer that today. You guys can look at this a little bit more and dissect it, but you know, we can stay there, we can add, we can delete. But right now our number is, would you say 78 or 76,204?
Well, with the 22,000 that I had initially done the equation at the 24,000 increase, which brought it up to 78,000, but with her 22,000 today, it would bring it down to the 76.
Okay. So between 78 and 76 is kind of what we're estimating right now.
Let's mull this over.
Yeah, we don't, it's just for discussion today and to
Right.
start looking at the numbers. And here again, it shows you what we funded. It doesn't mean that we have to fund them at that amount. It just means that that's what we funded at the request that we got last year. I would almost assure you that everybody's funding requests this year due to the inflation costs are gonna be higher. But
Right.
I think we should just pick a number, and then we can decipher and decide what we fund and who we fund it to later. That way, we have a pot to pick from, and when it's done, it's done. So I guess what we're really looking at is what number do we want to end up with? That makes sense, Commissioner?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else to add to that, Travis? Gosh, this is gonna be too easy today.
Yeah, exactly.
Lynn's smiling, she's saying, no, it's not. Okay, well then we'll discuss that more tomorrow and make a decision. You guys can mull it over tonight in your heads and see what makes sense. We'll
I
move,
don't know about making sense, but
well, we'll go right on. I don't, obviously Jessica is not here. She's on that tour of the Indy Dual plant in Pueblo today, but she did send us that CDAP
Right.
priority list and asked us, you know, are these still the priorities of the current commissioners, Commissioner Copenhaver, because you probably haven't seen this as we have in the past, of our priorities of high, medium, or low? And do we still want to keep these prioritized as that? So I think we can go ahead and look through these and just say, yes, this still looks good as high or low, or move them. Because I know you weren't at that last workshop that we had, but it was a very lengthy workshop.
Yeah.
So if we can start knocking some of this out now, we don't have to do it all at one time. So the first one on the list, and I think we've done a good job of this as far as maintaining and expanding. You know, we just approved another USDA packing plant south of town. They have the green light to go. It's just a matter of when they get it put together to go. So that ranking was high in the agricultural community. Do you guys want to leave it at that, or do you want to change any of the partners or anything with that before we move on to number 2?
I would say we leave that right where it's at.
Okay, do you want to change any of the partners? I think the partners have done a pretty good job right now.
Yeah.
But we actually have knocked some things off of there.
Right.
And if we continue to move forward with this
Grow
grow
dome.
dome,
Yeah.
you know, that's another part of that local food economy sector that we're gonna hit on there. So we've done a lot. If you look at the outcomes and the impacts, we already have done a lot. So prioritization of high, medium, or low, I think that's her question. The email that I got from her is, do we want to leave the ranking at the same? Or have we gotten enough knocked off? Do we want to change it?
You want to leave it high, Gerald?
I think we should.
I do too. I mean, it's,
Okay, all right, then we'll go on to number 2. This is for education. You know, here again, the Homegrown Talent Initiative at the Cortez High School. I don't know how much really involvement that we have in that.
we don't have any involvement.
Well, this is mostly just education. It's still,
Right.
it's still a high ranking because we want the education to be there, but it's mostly the educators, Fort Lewis College, PCC, MCHS. You know, I think the other high schools should be added to that. The partners, there should be Dolores and Mancos High Schools,
Most definitely.
because they're not listed right now. So that would probably be the only change that I would recommend, Travis, because all of the schools partner with
Yeah,
the education to all of the kids. But here again, it's an education component that we don't really, we're kind of in the background, not necessarily up front on this one. You want to look at any changes other than adding the partnership of the Dolores and Mancos?
Definitely need to add Mancos and Dolores. And we're starting to see growth in charter schools and private schools also. I don't know how much effect that would have on this, but
So since this really doesn't affect us, do we want to leave it as high or do we want to move it to medium?
I'd move our priority to medium.
Because we can only work on the back side of this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I don't. Okay, so you you get that one, Travis? Medium, and then add Dolores Mancos. Okay, number 3. This one relates to solar array.
You know, the potential for Montezuma County building a solar array are pretty minimal. The partners and private industry is gonna have to drive that.
Correct. So I don't know if we want to move this priority. You know, something that sticks out in my mind, and hopefully this survey that we just got from Empire Electric, you know, the whole premise, I think, of Tri-State, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kent, on this, but was to be able to capture 5% of the net total, correct?
Right.
So if we look at what we've done, have we captured 5% within internally of the county? I
We're-
think that's what we
we're
should
close.
focus on.
We're
And
real
once we
close.
hit that 5%, we've at least met that goal
Right.
of Empire Electric or Tri-State. So if we do our own solar array, which the last one that we talked about was at the fairgrounds, once we meet that, I think then we've at least met that 5% goal
Exactly.
that initially, I don't know if it was Empire Electric or Tri-State put out, but then we're kind of there. So I don't know if,
I'd move this to medium. And if you want to add Tri-State Generation as part of, as a partner, I would.
so now that we have changed, so I'm gonna go back to this as far as the ranking. I think we did that little solar array out at, by Totten Lake,
Yeah, it's, they're starting to break ground out there.
but that's a little one.
That's a little one. We've got, there's a solar array out by Totten Lake. There is one by Empire Electric's E&O building, and there's one south of town.
Correct,
And
on
they're
the
all,
fish,
they're all scheduled to be built.
fish property.
Yeah. And that's gonna get us close to the 5%. And if the county builds one out there, I mean, that's for basically their own personal use for
It's
the
our own
county.
personal use, but
So
still,
that
if
doesn't
we.
count, that doesn't count against the 5% because that's behind the meter.
Correct. But if we're asked, we can say we have 5%
Right.
behind the meter, so I think we've met that goal. So I would agree, we could probably move it to medium, because we're getting close to that. Now, does it mean that we're gonna get more than that? We probably will. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. That one down south of town, they actually, according to, they've actually started doing some work on it.
Yeah.
They started building it because they are crossing one of the lines, irrigation line, ditch lines that were put in quite a while ago, and they're having a little bit of controversy keeping them, trying to drill holes in it. So, anyway,
Okay, so we'll move number 3 to medium, and then we'll add Tri-State as a partner. And everything else can basically stay the same. Number 4, and I'm gonna try to get through this as quick as I can, guys, because there are 32 of these things that we have to get through. And maybe we don't have to look at all of the low priorities today, but maybe we just do the high priorities, Travis, and then we work next Monday also on the medium and then the low priorities. So let's just try and get through these, otherwise this will be we'll be here all night again. Number 4, area attractions and visitations in Dolores. Here again, this is kind of not necessarily what is on the forefront of us,
Right.
but business development obviously is critical in the county, and working with the town of Dolores and the chambers. So I think we could move this to a medium priority, because this doesn't necessarily affect us directly. It's an indirect effect, but
Right.
What can we do with the partners here other than what's already there? Good with that?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
bet.
All right, the Ute Mountain Industrial Park. Again, we have a high priority here. We don't really have anything to say about what they do. We can obviously support them with letters of support if need be, but we are, you know, the partners here is the UMUT, and that's it. So, do you want to leave this priority ranking the same, or do you want to move it?
Let's move it down to medium.
Okay.
And
The next three
partners-
rankings are medium, so we'll go to number 9. Which is, here again, this is an education category. I think we all agree that education is high, but indirectly, how are we affecting it?
Right. I don't know how we affect this. I mean, it's really important that we keep that community college out there.
Absolutely. We don't fund anything out there because it's all funded through the state. I don't
Right.
think we ever have funded anything.
When it was San Juan Basin VOTEC, I think we sent some funds out there, but that's been a while back.
It's been 20 years at least.
Yeah,
But even then, that was a partnership through the schools funding it.
right.
Mhm.
Each school district put in so much money to fund that. It wasn't, I don't think the county did anything
Okay.
that I remember anyway.
Okay, do you want to move anything on any of the estimates? The cost estimate is non-applicable anyway.
Right.
Yay, nay?
I'd move it to medium.
Okay, and these, obviously, we'll make these decisions tomorrow. We're just kind of
Right.
discussing them today. Okay, number 10 is still a high priority, SWMH. I can tell you right now that although we don't have a cost estimate with this, I think it should still be high because
We need a hospital.
everybody is, yeah,
Yeah.
part of an aging,
Some of the structures out there are aging and they're always in need of rehab.
so,
And I know they're trying still to, because they're expanding out there. Geez, I've been through 2 ER remodels and they're talking another one because of just the amount of volume going through just the emergency room out there is tremendous.
okay. Well, then let's make no change to number 10. Let's move on to 11, 12, 13, 14 are all medium.
15,
So we'll go to 15, past the Mesa Verde. I think we can pretty much leave just as it is because we have our grants in order to continue to maintain that and to take that to where it's at.
right. And the partnership there, do we want to put Region 9 in there also? Because that path is going to provide possibly a link in our fiber network.
I could. I don't know if that's actually I think if we leave it with CDOT, because it's
Yeah.
gonna be through CDOT,
Okay,
and the federal highways, I think we have it covered there. So I would say 15 is okay left as is. 16, I think with, if you look under the cost estimate, the 500,000 for the wave eaters, the wave attenuation, I'm not sure that that's going to happen, that we would ever support 500,000 of that. But I think that one could move from high to medium.
Okay.
And I'm gonna stop for a minute, I gotta take a 2-minute break. But you guys can start on
The-
17.
Montezuma County Recreation Committee? Who is that?
McCrack?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a James Dietrich.
okay.
I'll be right back.
You wanna address native fishery health below the fee reservoir in number 18?
That's a low one.
Yeah, that's a low one, but I
So
just seen that.
Oh, gotcha.
It leverages the unique assets of rural Colorado. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know about the county recreation committee, did you? I don't even know who that is. I don't know. Kinda like the film commission. We have a film commission, but nobody knows who it is. How did Dolores manage to get in here on all these?
So, where'd you end up at?
We're still at 17, countywide trails plan.
So, Travis, you're gonna have to check. James Dietrich is obviously with the group in Pueblo, but I'm not even sure if McCrack is even functioning anymore.
Yeah.
Can you answer that, Lynn? You know, I know that the SW Southwest Cycling,
Yeah.
they're extremely active in putting together these trails. So number 2 has definitely been taken care of. Number 3 has been taken care of. Number 4 has been taken care of on the outcomes and impacts. I think number 5 has been taken care of, other than the tie between Montrose to Moab. I'm not sure if that has been made or not, which is not even within our jurisdiction, so.
Oh,
I would say we could probably ask James Dietrich about this, but we probably ought to move this to a lower category.
I put it down as medium.
All right, 17 is low. I'm sorry, 18 is low, 19 is medium, 20 is high.
Well, you can go back to 19. The Main Street Bridge in Mancus is completed.
It's completed. So we could probably remove this one
Yeah.
totally.
Totally.
Okay. Same thing here with the town of Dolores, the water and the wastewater infrastructure. Going to their meetings, you know, they are doing a lot with the upgrades that they have and the DOLA money that they have got for the upgrades of their facility. And I think they just completed, last summer, they made all those crossings across the highway. So I think we could change this from a high to a low, because it would be for the rest of their infrastructure sustainability. just a recommendation. I don't know what you guys think
That's
there.
fine. You're part of those meetings, so.
Because they've gotten a lot done. 21, gosh, I think this stays as a high priority because of the public lands and the investment in the outcomes of supporting the upcoming timber sales and the resurfacing and not only Forest Service Road 542, but 526.
Right.
And then being able to use some of the flap funding. Comments, Commissioner? So if you look at the one right below at number 22, we go from, we go to 526 instead of 545,
Right.
which that's low.
I'd move that up.
We did complete the gravel on the 4 miles
Right.
of road, so that was completed. That's actually chip sealed on that last 4 miles, so that's been completed. But I think we're still discussing the number 2 issue as far as the outcomes to define, resolve, and maintain the usage under between the two parties. So do you want to leave that, to move that up?
I'd move it up to medium at least.
You okay with that? Okay, number 23. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, this pretty much is gonna have to stay at a high ranking because of
Yeah.
everything that we're dealing with right now, not just in the forest, but what we brought out of the forest and what we're dealing with on the private lands now, so, if you look at everything on the outcomes and the impacts, I think those are all pretty straightforward, and I think we can leave this one as high, just as
Yeah.
it sits for number 23. Number 20, turn the page. Number 24,
That's an easy one.
I think we can take off the outcomes and the impacts because the COG is actually not gonna be any longer there, and just leave it with CDOT and Region 9, or change the COG to Region 9.
Yeah.
And I think that number 8 we completed because we approved, out of our ARPA funding, we approved $100,000 of that. And I'm not sure if you were aware of that or not, Commissioner, but prior to
Yeah,
you coming
I
on, that we would help them get that project put together for their water system over there. So I think that's been accomplished. And all the partners obviously will stay the same other than the COG, and that will just get put into Region 9. And probably we should leave that at high also. Agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, 24, taken care of. 25 is low. 26, Gosh, workforce development, this is even higher. Can we put 2 highs on this, like high?
Yeah, I think
Because
very high.
workforce development is, I don't think we need to look or change anything there. Everything has to continue to go. 27 is high. Housing manufacturing, I think we can leave it as it is. We actually have a group of our people right now in Pueblo looking at another manufactured housing in Dwell. And that would be part of the recruitment. 28, support the agribusiness. Do you guys see anything that needs to change on there?
No.
So what could we put under the value-added industries? I'm gonna let you answer this one, Commissioner Copenhaver, you would know better than me for sure, but is there anything that we need to add under there?
Well, that's basically gonna cover a lot of different types of supportive businesses that could come in. As far as just like the meat process plant, all of that stuff's gonna come under those headings. Whether you put in something to process the fruit, if they ever get more of the apples and stuff going, all
What
of
the
that
hell
stuff,
they doing up there?
you're basically, those are gonna come under your value-added ag industry, whether you put, you know,
Okay, so we'll just leave it as the value-added.
yeah.
Ag
I mean,
industry,
it pretty
okay.
much covers
So,
different types of industry that could come in without just naming specific ones. That's what I'm getting at, because it's hard telling
it could
what
be
you could
anything.
end up with.
Right, I mean,
you
the ag
could end up
industry-
with something for applesauce, you could end up with something for apple juice, you could end up for
Yeah.
other types of meat processing facilities.
Okay.
Or even, it'd be nice to have a fertilizer plant regionally, so, we can- but that fits in with 31.
Okay, so 29's low, 30's low, we're gonna go right past them, turn the page. 31 is low, which is what you just mentioned.
Yeah,
Which I think the federal transportation is working on that, which is, it's probably gonna make it into New Mexico before it ever gets anywhere close to Colorado. 32 is low, 33 is medium, 34, 35 is high. This specifically is basically for the town of Mancus. I think isn't that part of the IHOP grant that we're working with right now to create the plan?
I think so.
So do we want to leave it there or move it to a medium?
What do you say, Gerald?
I don't know, we could probably move it to a medium as far as that goes. I mean, it's,
And really, you know, what, we talked about this a little bit earlier, that we're really trying to help our grant writer and our economic develop coordinator, give them clear direction of what our highest priorities are so that they can attack those, because they're never gonna get through all of these. Okay, 36, here again,
Same thing.
Commissioner Copenhaver, we're in your district, which you would have more information of what they're doing over there. I would agree with you, Kent. It's not the highest of our priorities, but it is a
I
medium
would
priority.
just put medium on it too.
37 is high.
Still in the town of Mancus.
Mhm.
Yeah, still same way, I just move it to medium.
Okay. And then 38, high, which is the U Mountain Ute tribe. Here again, we support what they're doing down there, but the funding sources don't really cross
No,
at all. Medium,
yeah.
Yeah,
39. I think that everything has been done at Painted Hand, hasn't it? I think you could move that from a medium to a low.
yeah.
Okay. So 40 is medium, 41 is medium, 42 is high.
Probably on 40, that should say yellow jacket flow dying, not flooding.
Yeah,
Oh. I know that they just finished the Sligo Street South, and I want to say they did put an improvement there for the Mustang, didn't they? Didn't they move that out? They didn't put a structure over it, but they made it wider there where people could actually park and the bus could get in and out of there.
it was there. I don't know if they put it in there when they redone the street, but
I think they
I would-
did. They
I-
made it
yeah,
better.
I would think they would.
So some of the improvements, I think we could leave that one as it is, because I think that
Yeah,
the state is doing a lot with that, so we'll support that. 43, the wildlife fencing and underpass. At the TPR meeting, that's probably gonna come out to add this winter,
yeah.
so we probably will see that underpass and overpass, one or the other, on 160 just outside of Phil's World.
Just, where's it gonna be?
Well, there's kind of a 2-mile stretch there between like the fairground, you know where they cross under the highway now? Somewhere right in there is kind of what they're focused on right now. So I think we can leave that as it is. Because I'm pretty sure they're gonna let that out to add this winter.
Same.
44 is high and 45 is high, and this is all transportation. Which here again, I think it's gonna be which our partner is CDOT, but it's gonna actually have no cost estimate for us, is what we are doing with it. So I think that could be left as high.
Yeah, some of this on number 2, the outcomes and impacts. I know that Cortez is addressing that and things have pretty much happened. But I don't know about Dolores and Rico. Total of 16 intersections. It's almost complete in Cortez with just number 2.
Mm-hmm. So, do you
I'd
wanna
leave it
leave
the same.
40,
Yeah,
do you wanna leave 45 as high then, or do you wanna move it?
let's leave it as it is. Get it done.
All right, well then that addresses all the high. Travis, you put we've addressed the highs, so we'll give those two ladies kind of our highs right now, and then we'll look over our lows, or I'm sorry, our mediums next Monday, and then our lows the next Monday, because some of those we might be able to take off also. Okay, I'm gonna leave this here. All right, any other questions on that? Okay. Last but not least, we have Lynn with updates to our employee handbook.
Employee handbook. So I went in and updated the overtime compensation with the compliance decision that you made back on June 28th, I believe. And then also Administrator Anderson had come up with a updated memo or whatever that we wanted in the handbook, because there was already a payday section in there, so we updated that. So everybody's all on the same page for administrative purposes. And they're highlighted in the yellow and the pink there.
Okay.
So there's a drafted version and then a final version, a clean version, for you to hopefully adopt or approve tomorrow.
So do you want to look at those? Do you have those with you, Travis, the changes? Obviously, we all know that we had to make that decision
Right.
per the statute that comp time is no longer allowed and we're going to use overtime. If you work overtime, you're paid overtime.
Correct?
So 3.2, I believe, is the overtime compensation you're talking about?
Right, and where we just took out some, where I highlighted where words would be removed, like the either or compensatory time off. And then if you scroll down further, there's several paragraphs that are being will be omitted or just take completely removed.
The red is omitted and the purple is
Correct.
added.
Correct,
And we have a clean version as well, but
okay,
that's how it's.
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And I'll just go triple check that beforehand.
3.4, is that every Monday?
It's every other Monday.
Okay. It just
Because
says
the
to finance on Monday at 9 AM.
3.4, oh. It's not showing up there very well. Oh, it must be
So I think it's,
purple. It's kind of purple.
It's purple, yeah.
Yeah.
It should be, yeah.
Is it every other Monday?
Finance
That's
on Monday by 9 AM. So it says paydays are bi-weekly every other Friday, so the following Monday is what we're referring to in that,
okay.
if that makes sense. Unless you want me to try and reword that.
I think I get what you're saying. It could be confusing if you're looking at,
Yeah.
it should be bi-weekly opposite of,
The following Monday?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay,
To finance
Just-
on the following Monday.
Just
Okay.
add that so that way it's real clear.
okay,
And then obviously the holidays are the Tuesday.
right,
Yeah.
Okay.
and that's it?
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Those are kind of just the cleaning up the handbook after we had to make that decision that we voted on a couple months ago. Well,
Correct.
yeah, a couple months ago.
Okay, so I'll triple check and add that recommendation of following in there on the clean version.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Gentlemen, I guess that is it, unless you have anything else.
No.
Okay. Well, then, we are adjourned.